So next, for our next speaker is Mr. Karkhanis. He has a very long resume biodata. He has around 5 pages biodata given to me. So I don't want to read it. It is really lengthy. So you can just refer here. So he is a multi-skilled talent. He is electrical engineer. He is a testing person, maintenance engineer. Worked with L&T. Worked with regulatory body. Like Maharashtra Electricity Regulation Committee. He is a visiting faculty. He is author of many books. This book is very popular, Guide to Electrical Engineering, and Management of Transmission Distribution already has been distributed to you, right? He has written several technical papers, and frankly speaking, he is our, if you consider SOPEP as a train, he is engine of this train, right? So we have two personalities here. One, Mr. Babeja, which is inspiration for us, and Mr. Karkhanis, who is engine of the train. He is driving the train, and Babeja is giving us blessing. So these are the two factors which is motivating us to continue SOPEP in spite of thin attendance. Otherwise, anybody would have left that, but we have not left it. We are continuing. Post-Corona, really we are facing this trouble. This is the second seminar after Corona, and we are facing the hit. Right? But still we are continuing, and we would like to continue. I am very sure when we will have our December seminar, we will get a lot of crowd at that time. Thank you very much, sir. Sir, please.
Sure. Thank you for very short. Hello, good morning everybody. Hello. Yeah. In spite of the long career that I have had, I don't think I am up to the requirement of the day, because the technology is changing. All the time technology is changing, and we have on the WhatsApp group for ex-testing personnel, Patki, Sate, those who you have heard those names. So they are talking about the dynamic line capability and how it can be used in the prediction of the load change. It's a little high for me. Many times they talk about the lens characteristics of the protections, and so many things are there which are newly coming up. So your knowledge should never be stagnant. It should always be updated. That's the whole thing. But today we are going to talk about the Prudence check on schemes for refurbishment and modernization. What is Prudence? Can anybody say what this talk is going to be about, or what we are going to discuss this time? Prudence is the verification that you are doing the right thing. Suppose in your house you got a door, entrance door, and you make a safety door, you put another door. That's expensive, but you put that expenses. Now that's the refurbishment of the entrance. Now, is it prudent? Because you have spent something, so because of that you didn't go to your hotel visit, you are reduced for that month. So nobody else but you is going to decide whether the prudence of it. But when you are working in an organization, in a company, for the people, the company run by the people, by some management, for some purpose, is different. You cannot spend your money left and right just because you thought it's prudent to do the refurbishment and modernization. You have to have a prudence check. Now, who does the prudence check for you, and how it should be done? Whether it should be a common methodology for all industries, for all businesses, that is, we have to see now. Next, please. So, you require to do modernization and refurbishment. Why? So when we had to do it, there is general deterioration in plant performance from original performance and or from design parameters. Always when you are supplied a machinery like a boiler or turbine or anything, it's some parameters of efficiency are given. And if there is a deterioration, you have to do the refurbishment. Or when plant output is reduced, you are not getting the output. Say 500 megawatt unit is there, but you can go only up to 400 megawatt. You can't go higher because your sprays are leaking, or whatever is happening, your reheater is not working, or the plant operates at a lower efficiency, or the main plant and auxiliary equipment undergo frequent and longer forced outages. The mean time between the failures, that's most important, as Mr. Babaji was saying. The mean time of failure is very short. That means something is failing, something is getting overloaded, something is not matching, there's mismatch. Or when there is a considerable reduction in plant availability and there are higher emissions of effluent and harmful gases. So all this happens, it gives you a problem and the business sustainability at stake. So up there you see a sawtooth diagram. The performance gets reduced from its 100%. Then you do your maintenance. Maybe you do your routine maintenance, you do your corrective maintenance, you do your predictive maintenance. Long time back, Ashok Sethi and I had written a paper on total productive maintenance. So because it doesn't really make any sense to do routine maintenance just because it's 6 monthly it's required. It doesn't really make sense to do predictive maintenance alone because what will you predict? So total productive, that means you put the sensors at the right place, and when the sensor comes to a stage when the imminent knee point is coming, you do the maintenance. So to place TPI. So you go on doing your maintenance and then it improves. Okay, it improves. Your performance improves, your efficiency improves. Again, it goes on going down. Your next overall is coming. You do, and then ultimately a time comes where your maintenance of any kind doesn't really help and you have to do the refurbishment. So as it said, the sawtooth graph showing deteriorating performance trend which cannot be restored to better performance efficiency through normal maintenance cycles, showing deteriorating trend with years of service. Next please. Now, any refurbishment and modernization requires money. There is a capital expenditure to be made. There are two kinds of businesses, the unregulated and regulated businesses. The FMCG, fast moving consumer goods, luxury goods, farm products, industrial products, capital goods, transport equipment, general services, so many things are unregulated. Under regulated comes the essential services, utilities, gas, water, electricity. In electricity, all the four sides, transmission, distribution, load dispatching, and generation, tariff only. So these are the regulated businesses in electricity sector. Now, in an unregulated industry, the owner plans and executes refurbishment of his plant. Owner means you also are included in the owner. At his own will and at his own risk, you do some refurbishment. You put some money in that because you see my plant is at stake. The pellets, there's a paper on the pellets, so number of pellets. So you are improved upon it. Now, was it really necessary? Yeah, that I will decide. Now, will it increase my selling cost anywhere, or will it reduce my profitability? The owner will decide. That's his own risk. Nobody is to question that. So that's the difference between the unregulated and the regulated business. So he banks on his marketing effort and to recover the costs incurred on the R&M with a lot of apprehension. Okay, I have got the so and so thing. Instead of my hand welding, I have got robotic welding for my cars. Okay, that will increase the cost. Will it be sold? But I can say that the car is better, this thing quality. People will pay 10,000 extra for that. So this apprehension is in mind. The Tata Motors have increased the cost of the EVs because there is some improvement in the battery. There is always a possibility that the customer will turn their back and industry sustenance will be in a jeopardy in spite of R&M of the plant. The risk the owner has taken. The risk the entire company has taken. In a regulated industry such as electricity, there are strict rules and regulations regarding undertaking R&M. The proposals are subject to rigorous prudence checks after approval by the assigned regulator through prudence check. However, the cost of R&M is allowed to be recovered from the consumers. There is no apprehension. Once the regulator says, yes, this is necessary, this is essential, this ought to be done, the consumer will pay, they shall pay, if they have to pay. Whatever andolan they have to do, they have to pay. It has to be recovered from the consumers to the revised tariff. There is no apprehension about the payback. So that's the difference between regulated and unregulated. Now, how many are from Tata Power? Mine's going, right? Some other. So, my next portion of the talk will be mainly for the regulated electricity business, because that's what I do very well, but that can be applied to other industries through parallel thinking, which we will also do while we discuss this. Because as Mr. Bhavaj was saying, you are saying everything, all the things, why there is a regulation, why there is why regulator is strict about it, because whatever you do has to be for the 4P: plant, profit, people and the planet. So all these things together is the all stakeholders. So R&M that you do may not be only for the plant, may not be only for the machinery, but the regulator checks that it is for the benefit of all stakeholders. This is a very 360 degrees thinking. In an unregulated industry, that thinking is not necessarily done for every R&M. Maybe sometimes the some renovation, upgrading of technology for no reason, for any other reason, that may be there. So thinkings are different. Please, next please. So when we do R&M, what do we say? That it will fetch me reduction in plant operating expenses. So these are the fixed costs. In the electricity industry, there are fixed costs and there are the variable costs. Fixed costs are the administrative expenses, the wages and salaries and everything of the people, and the repairs and maintenance. Then the interest and the depreciation. So all these are fixed costs. Whereas the fuel related, there is coal, water, so these are all running costs, variable costs. Reduction in fuel costs, production related running costs due to increased efficiency of the plant, the boiler efficiency, turbine efficiency, everything improves. Increased revenue due to higher output from the refurbished plant. Improved reliability and availability of plant and its auxiliary equipment. Reduced outages, forced outages, planned outages, partial outages. My FD fan fails, so I have to cut down the load. Again and again it happens. So you run down at a low plant load factor. Same thing for any major machinery in any industry. Significant environmental benefit through reduced emissions like FGD, ESP, so how many streams, how many fields, what's working. Next please. So why we are talking now, we'll talk about, we are talking about FGD, we are talking about ESP, we are talking about so many things which are mainly generation related. So what distribution, what the people have to do with generation costs? That's because electricity industry is such that everything, generation, transmission, distribution, everything is ultimately recovered only from the consumers. So even if there is a cost incurred in getting a coal of a higher value, better grade, washed coal, and it is costlier, then, and if the regulator approves, it has to be paid by the consumers ultimately. How it is paid? The boiler, generator, CW pumps, AHP, FGD, auxiliaries, coal yard, DM plant, ESP, all costs are put together. Fixed costs, variable costs. Add to that the transmission costs. Add to that the power distribution company's costs. And then what ultimately is to be recovered from the customers is the A cost, average cost of supply. So every distribution company has average cost of supply on which its merit is determined. For example, if you are buying costlier power from somewhere, if you are buying power from a long distance transmission cost, so maybe your A cost is say 7 rupees per unit, the total cost. You recover it from the residential, industrial, commercial, all categories of customers in whatever way you want. Suppose your cost is 7 or 8 rupees per unit, maybe 4 rupees you get from residential, maybe little more from the commercial, you get that cost. So this affects the fixed cost, variable cost of the plant, which in turn affect the tariff. How do you recover? You recover through tariff. Tariff is fixed by the regulator. You can't change it. This calls for prudence check on the proposal by the generating company regarding the R&M of the plant. So even if a generating company is doing something, refurbishing their plant, they have to go to the regulator because ultimately the customers are going to pay. Suppose you say, no, I am not going to put it on a tariff. I am not going to recover. That means you have got some extra money somewhere. You may as well use it for benefit of the people. Reduce the tariff. That regulator will say that. Next please. See the generating plant, for example, suppose it's not going to its all 500 megawatts, it's just generating 400 megawatts. Then load curves, daily load curve gets affected. The supply curve. The top grey portion, it is not able to feed. Now, the customer that is a distribution company has got a power purchase agreement with the generator. He has to give this much power. If he is unable to give, the distribution agency has to go elsewhere. Maybe he has to buy costlier power. So, such a purchase of costlier power from elsewhere reflects on the cost. Then it has to be recovered from the people. So, tariff. So, everything gets scuttled. So, that's why the loss of productive capacity has to be addressed through refurbishments and modernization. Now, whether it will really affect the generation capacity, whether it will affect the tariff, whether the tariff will go from good to worse, that all has to be put to test by putting it through logics, by arguments, and it is to be agreed to by all. Next please. So these are the things that can occur for the power plant. Reduction in megawatt power generated by the unit, reduction in energy generated by the unit, increase in cost of energy per unit, that is the production cost per pro rata, reduction in plant load factor. These deficiencies will reduce the capability to deliver power. It will force the distributor to explore other sources of power procurement. The generator may have to bear the extra generation cost because the regulator doesn't really freely allow the cost. Suppose the efficiency, the production is low, efficiency is low, because the efficiency is always at the optimum capacity. Then the higher cost is involved. This is not possible to recover because it is due to your own inefficiency, your profit suffers. Next please. Now, this is the electricity, because electricity regulation starts from the Electricity Act. So, as per Electricity Act 2003, the Regulatory Commission has been given the mandate to do the prudence check. So, whatever things you do in your plant, suppose you are doing with the consent of a management, it is not adequate. Management has to prove your case further to the regulator, and suppose say that putting the sensors in the cable box of the transformer or that robotics, everything has to be, every expenditure done there has to be proven. Now the commission is guided by, the commission has to have some guidance. How will commission cannot just say it is good, it is not good, it cannot just throw which is gone further is the best thing. The proposals are there. It is guided because there is a regulation In principle, clearance of proposed investment scheme issued on 9 February 2005, MERC, multi-year tariff regulation 2019, and there is a proposed draft MERC approval of capital investment regulation 2022. Now, how many of you working in maintenance are aware of these regulatory requirements? Are you aware that this, whatever capital expenditure that you do has to be as per this, so that it has to be proven and it will be granted? Good that you are all aware. Next, please. So, I was in the commission that time and was looking after the approval of the capital expenditure. So, lots of problems we had. We had discussions with the TPC people, MACD people, the Reliance at that time. See, so the CAPEX scheme, there are two kinds of schemes, CAPEX schemes, which do the improvement in operational performance, say of the generating. We are talking only now of the generating, because better to be focused so that you don't go astray. So, operational performance parameters of generating unit or compliance with the environmental norms. Somebody said about FGD and all that. So, if there is compliance to be done with the environmental norms notified by the concerned Indian government, governmental instrumentality, and requires to set up additional asset that qualify under the criteria specified for the capital investment scheme, or R&M in accordance with provisions of the MERC, MYT regulations, or replacement of asset on account of inter alia completion of the useful life. Now that completion of useful life, so okay, let's read to that. Emergency restoration work involving asset replacement, civil work such as office building, approach road, obsolescence of asset, absence of support from original equipment manufacturer, that also happens. BHL is not giving this thing because its contract with the Russians is over. We have to go for some American thing. So that's the reason. On the battery sets are good, they were like. Now it so happened in Trombay Unit 7. Mr. Wankade asked for a spare generator. Because it's a new generator, okay. Then why? Because he said that the life is over. Who told you life is over? These questions were asked. You just can't say it is not working well, it is failing off. He said, no, Mr. Devraj said that. Mr. Devraj, I think, BHA person. So, then we called for various edit, because he just can't have said it on the turbine floor. He has to give writing. So he has said it is desirable that it should be changed, it is likely. So this is, that doesn't do. There has to be some tests, checks, the residual life assessment, that is come to zero, RLS is zero. Then only the commission will permit. Otherwise, this huge expenditure you incur, and then you go to commission and they say, yeah, I am doing R&M, I am doing a good job. This is going to increase the reliability, improve the reliability, give me a pat on the back. That's not right. You don't get a pat on the back for arbitrarily doing R&M. Then there is a OPEX scheme, system automation, new technology and IT implementation, etc. So there is a difference between the CAPEX and OPEX. Now that robot scheme is another. Who's done that? Grant Road remote this thing. Anybody? Okay. So
transformer station. No, switchgear station.
Now you have said that the operator doesn't. It takes time to go there and all that. So instead of he going there, the robot is there, which goes from the panel to panel, takes the reading. Now in Sweden there are so many stations which are not manned by anybody. So how it is done there? Is your scheme on par with advantages and benefits with other schemes in the world? What other alternatives are there? Have you checked that? What benefit is going to accrue? So you say there is an operational benefit. So that goes under OPEX schemes, and such expenses may be allowed over and above the normative O&M expenses, which it is not allowed in the fixed as a CAPEX scheme expenditure, but O&M expenditure subject to prudence check detailed justification, cost benefit analysis submitted against the capex scheme and saving in the O&M. So we had this major problem. There's so many Colliard changes, now this Colliard paper is very good. Who has written that Colliard paper? That's very good. Lots of places the sensing has been done and improvements are there, and that's really going to help. But we had lots of problems in separating out the capex schemes and opex scheme. So that subsequently, that's why in this 2022 regulations, very, very clear differentiation has been done. Next please. And then there are DPR schemes and non-DPR schemes. That's very important thing, because the detailed project report is required in certain cases, and these are the large schemes. See, there are hundreds of, you'll be having lots of refurbishment and modernization schemes. Any small things, big things, they will be there. Say maybe the water piping scheme, something is to be changed, or maybe it's some cards in the IMD, the instrumentation system is not working. There are some interesting things going on that people from receiving stations are there. There were L3WS relays were there earlier, the distance relays. Now it's now the static relays came. Now those days, those relays were changed. The L3WS relays were replaced by static distance relays by the technical people. These are better things. But I find that in certain MSAP stations, still the old relays are working.
Still working.
So was it necessary really? So that decision was taken by technical people, but now it will have to be proven that that L3WS has got a circular characteristic, this has got a MTA, maximum torque angle, that length characteristic. All this has to be proven. It will be beneficial. It will reduce my failures. It will improve my the focus, the tripping and all that has to be very, very focused. Then only you can go for that. So there are DPR schemes and non-DPR schemes. Certain schemes, that time we were not having clarity. So we said, you combine the non-DPR schemes together and you say that this is for the improvement, and let them come to the 20 crores and we'll grant. But then afterwards the commission said, "Key, our aim is to reduce unnecessarily R&M." So that's why they differentiated like priority C. So certain separate, there are two ways of doing it, A, B, C, and say that this is not priority, or put it into this format. This is a DPR scheme. Then the detailed project report is required. Then next please. So let us talk about the large refurbishment schemes. How they are approved. Now I would say that so much thinking has gone behind this total prudence check, that what is good for the electricity sector really holds good for all the industries, should emulate. Now there are two stages. The commission shall approve the capital investment in two stages. One is in principle approval prior to undertaking the scheme, and final approval of complete cost after the asset is put to use. So for the in principle approval, the detailed overview of the scheme, justification of the scheme, financial justification of the cost analysis, funding arrangement. Have you ever thought where the funds are going to come from when you put up the R&M scheme? That I want to change this compressor setting or some whatever, that instead of 3 compressors, I want to do 4 compressors. Where is the funding going to come from? Nobody is, but so that also, maybe the company is taking a long-term loan from the banks at some cost. Every money has got its own cost. Methodology by which the scheme's progress will be monitored. Suppose you say that this scheme is going to be completed in 6 months' time. What's your methodology? The flow of equipment, the outages that you will get for installing, then the putting in service. What's your methodology? And the methodology for verification of the scheme being put in use and projected percentage utilization of the asset for the first 5 years after commissioning of the proposed capital investment. Means after putting in service, how are you going to, see, suppose you put in service something because your original asset is failing often. You put a new thing, new motor, new whatever. It's not failing that often. So how you are going to monitor that? Otherwise, what you have spent is useless. Suppose one is having a 5 times failure in a year and other thing is not having, is also having 5 times, then why did you spend that? Did not think. So normally this question would not be asked. Once you put something, oh, you've done R&M, give pat on the back, give him a prize, like what he said, that somebody has done something, but he's the thinking, he has the modification done, worth the money. Because here in the electricity business, the money is going to be paid by the consumers. Then the approval of the scheme with technology and upgradation and improvement at significantly higher cost. There what is detail required? Significant operational difficulties with the existing asset leading to the frequent disruption of operating and or supply. That I can't see the flame properly. So that's why I don't know how the, on the thermal station there is a technical minimum. At night time when the load is low, you got to go down. Most of the MACD stations cannot go down below 75 to 77%. Why? Because they don't have the flame sensing equipment properly installed. Tata Power goes low because they got absolutely good systems are there. So what are your predicaments now by which you are not using properly? So such technology improvements also will be allowed. It is also an R&D. Technology improvement is also an R&D. It's not just a hardware, the major hardware. It's instrumentation, it's a control, everything can be changed. But you have to be, now normally when you want to get convinced, my shirt is not good, I want to buy a new shirt. You can convince yourself and you buy. But here, it's not yourself. You have to convince the people, the plant, the planet and the province, everything. The useful life of the asset proposed to be upgraded should have either been exhausted significantly by a residual life test or diagnostic test results. The stand delta is going high and I can't improve it, for example, the CTs and all that. So this all has to be proven. You can't say it's not good, the color of the oil is not good. Have you tested the oil? Nothing like that. Next please. Then there is a final approval, means after getting the in principle approval, you're supposed to go ahead at your own risk. Because what you have claimed has to come true also. If it doesn't come true, you are in trouble. Final approval of all capex scheme for R&M will be done during the true-up of the MYT of the utility by the Regulatory Commission. The purpose of the scrutiny is to ascertain whether the stated objective has been met or not. So the applicant should include but not limited to the following details: full technical parameters, including whether the stated objective is as submitted in the application for the in principle approval has been achieved. Physical completion of certificate, like that 10% money is left out because he has not completed. That won't do. The physical completion should mean closure of all the things related to that job. Full financial parameters, item-wise justification for variation between approved equipment cost, completed cost, if there is any in between the cost is increased or the transport cost is high or you have delayed it, so your interest during construction is high, all completion of actual cost benefit analysis with respect to cost benefit analysis proposed. Suppose you say my payback or my improvement is such that the fixed cost will come down by so much, or so in your ARR, if you are saying the annual revenue requirement or the midterm review, if the company goes with a higher this thing, demand, then that won't do. You did something and you say that you want more money, you spend more money, then you will have to say, give whatever reason. Next please. That was for DPR scheme. Now, non-DPR scheme, they also will be allowed. It's all small schemes. Not all the costs will be allowed. Only Commission shall allow non-DPR capitalization based on the prudence check subject to the cap. Non-DPR capital cost will be 20% of the cost of DPR scheme. This is just an arbitrary rule to prevent people to come out with all kinds of modifications. Next. Now problems that we faced during scrutiny of R&M capex schemes, which are, so some OPEX proposal, people cannot differentiate what is operational capex and what is operational scheme and what is the capital scheme. So capex submission wrongly made for procurement of capital spares. That many times happens. That as per rules, certain capital spares are to be kept. 2.5% or whatever. And if there is a additional, then you have to get full justification. Instead of that, you just say, I want to complete a rotor of the spare. Now, who asked you? Then this is the recommendation of the manufacturer or something like that. So if that is, has he recommended for all or only you? So because these are costly things. This is a rotor or whatever spare, that's a current asset. It doesn't depreciate. But it will come on your inventory, it will come on your tariff, it will reflect. So that's why. So some capex which are wrongly, then OPEX nature's expenditure for operational improvement are wrongly submitted for capex. Then clubbing of O&M schemes to get them qualified as a more than 20 crores. So subsequently we discourage that because the schemes which are not relation to each other, something in the ash plant, something in DM plant, no relation. Incorrect or insufficient detailing, then challenging problems in evaluating problems of the scheme to a very high degree of clubbing. Okay, so all this clubbing, and it has to be clarity has to be there. You do something in your plant, you are aware of your plant more than anybody else. You can't assume third party to know everything about it. It is there, it is natural. ऐसे ही होता है. Not like that. You have to really give it with proper thing, because you are going to burden someone with your expenditure. Not going to put you from your pocket, you are going to burden someone, recover from somebody. So it has to be the benefit of that somebody. Problem for final approval also we had some problems. Time phasing out incorrectly shown earlier. Result, sometimes the time overrun was so much that it was said that this will be done in 1 year. Okay. What's the supply time that the manufacturer said? 6 months. Then it turns out for 1 year also it doesn't give. The PHL is known for that. It delays and delays and delays unless a man goes there, talks to the highest person, you don't get things. In India that kind of problems are there. Incorrect detailing of final scope and cost proposal of R&D project vis-a-vis in principle clearance. Detailing not done, certain things missed out. In capital, the capital investment of scheme after completion do not completely fulfill the intended objective. Then you have to add on something. So all this you are not thought of. So indirectly, we are saying here that during your refurbishment and modernization, you should think all these things. That is my intended refurbishment going to be, the intention is going to be achieved or not? You just can't be very casual about it. Next please. Ha! So, there is a technical necessity, there is a commercial viability, and identify the arrest of wasteful expenditure. This is the complete prudence check that you do, because if you do only from the plant viewpoint, you only do from the people viewpoint, you only do from profit viewpoint, it does not give your business sustainability. Maybe it gives your plant sustainability. Your engine, your machine, your boiler will operate, but you won't be able to sell your goods. So business fails. So the R&M is not only for the machine, it's not only for the people, it's not for the profit alone, it's not only for planet alone, it's for everybody, all the stakeholders. Then only R&M is really considered as the essential R&M. So that's what we have to keep in mind, and that's what the regulator is trying to achieve through the regulations for the electricity industry. Other industries have to have their own regulators. They don't have the government regulator, but their own company, their own people, their safety people, their management, their commercial people. I know that when you do R&M, you give very less importance to safety people, the commercial people. Usko kya samajhta hai, boiler kya hai, isko kya samajhta hai. That's not right. Everybody has to be involved because it's for sake of everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Because Karkhanis sir का topic इतना अच्छा रहता है that people will be curious to ask questions. But my problem is time. We are already running behind schedule. So only one question I will take. Only one. Yeah, please.
Hello sir. My question is that nowadays regulators are getting very strict. So there is a very thin line between the projects that we do under OPEX or CAPEX. So what are the criteria that we decide this project is taken under OPEX or CAPEX? Because regulator nowadays, if we put up a CAPEX proposal, so they already said that you are getting O&M expenses. You can do this job under O&M also. And what are the criteria for DPR and non-DPR schemes?
You have to read these regulations. I gave you 3 regulations, I think. The 2005 regulations, in the proposed draft regulations, they are on the net, you can download and see. And the MYT, that is these 3 together, they give all your answers. It cannot be just put across the table like this, because this is a very involved question. And I have lost some hair, the regulator lost some hair, because then the DPR, non-DPR was the worst thing. Because I told the TPC people, all my friends, they're coming, and then the NSC people, that we cut this, then they go more than 20 crores. Then we'll say, but then I was told by the commission that the intention is to discourage. So let there be cap, 20%. Let them not come with then okay, maybe their DPR scheme. DPR scheme is their necessary, found essential, found required. So they will be okay. Cost maybe say 2,000 crores in a year. Okay, in a year. 20% of that is non-DPR. That also prudence check. So I really urge people to read these 3 documents to get the complete idea, because it's fragmented. The information is not in one. Your question is pointed, but the information is fragmented. You'll have to compile it together.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody.